Hey everybody, welcome to a video. It's been a while since I've done something where I build in my videos. So hunting season coming up, I decided, well, a nice scabbard ought to be good. As you can see, this one here, it's not necessarily had its, I don't even know where it came from, honest with you. But anyway, I got this knife here, stag handle. It's one my dad built. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, where you can get your own. But what I was thinking, the way that handle curves, that just needs to be like a cross draw sitting at a 45-degree angle on my belt. So I'm going to get started making that pattern. First thing I'm going to do, since that handle's a little bit wider, I'm just going to trace my knife, get started with it. Like I said, this is a knife my dad built here, and if you like it, you know, you can get a hold of him and have one made for yourself. He's pretty specific about his metal and his handle material as well. I know he does a lot of forging and stuff, and when he makes these knives here, he says he uses old catalytic converters for the metal. Something about the iridium in them that he really likes, and you know, he says he only cuts them off of 95 to 2001 Ford F-150s, and only the four-wheel drive models. Apparently there's something a little bit different in them that he prefers on those. That handle material, it's a stag handle, you can see. He only likes to get those deer. He says the first full moon of August, and it has to be under the full moon. Something about coming out of velvet and stuff kind of helps out that handle material a little bit. So anyway, if you want, I'm going to flip that knife over so I can kind of get where it needs to fold over. I'm just going to cut it extra big. I'm going to get kind of my basic shape, and I'm going to trim it up here in a little bit. But anyway, if you want to get a hold of him, there's a couple different ways. He has a hand-drawn catalog that he puts out every couple of years. And check out his website at arkansasblimptours.com, and he has a email contact there where you can get a hold of him. But anyway, let's get started. I'm just kind of drawing this pattern. Like I said, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger on paper than what I actually need in leather, just because this handle is so wide. I want it to fit, so it's better to have a little bit extra material than not enough. So I'm going to get ahead and working on this pattern here for a minute, and I'll catch you back up whenever I get finished drawing it. Alright, so I've got my pattern made. This is going to be a little overlay piece. This is the front here. So that little piece is going to ride on there like that, and I'm going to stitch it on there so I get to the back side here. And then I've never made one like this before, but I'm just going to tie in my stitching for my welt here at the bottom. So that's going to create a little belt loop so I can keep it at a 45-degree angle. And of course right now I got it flipped backwards to where I'll have to finish it out like this for it to sit on my left side. But I'm going to go try to find some leather right now, bring that over here and get it cut out. So I found me a pretty good piece of leather, pretty close to the back. It's a 7/8 ounce, and I'm going to go ahead and just start laying out my pattern here. I'm going to start up top so that hopefully I have enough material here to get my welt out of also. So I'm just going to go ahead and get everything drawn up and ready to rock and roll. All right, got everything laid out. Now it's time to cut it out. I got everything cut out here. As you can see, I left this piece plenty long. When this wraps around, it's going to shrink it up quite a bit. So I'm just going to trim that off after I get it all stitched together. But I'm going to line up my edges here on the top. And I think I'm going to stamp this. So I'm just going to make a quick little mark with my pencil where to end that stamping on the front side. And as well, I'm going to mark my my stitch line on here right now while I got it torn apart. And I'll probably come in about that far. I'm just going to do it in lightly. Things change. Go all the way up to the top. There, I got that marked in. Like I said, I'll dig it in a little deeper once I get going on it. And I'm just going to just draw, because here's where our center line is going to be on that thing. And I want the carving to come, or the stamping to come up just a little bit above that. So I'll just end it something like that, just a curved line. I don't want a cut coming straight across, because if I were to make my cut line right there on the center where it's bending, it's going to separate over time, and I don't want that to happen. You can see how it's belled out so much, comes up. Once I get that everything formed together, it should be a pretty darn straight line. You can see how it straightens up pretty good right there. That handle's extra thick, so it's going to allow for it to be held in there pretty secure. And it's got this nice knob on there, so I figured I would bury it pretty good into that scabbard and get a hold of it pretty easy to pull it out. So that's where we're at right now. What I am going to do first, I'm going to edge all that around there where I won't be able to get to it after it's put together. So I'm going to take my little edge beveler, and I'm just going to go around the sides that aren't going to be exposed to the edge, because I'm going to overlay those a little bit just to sand them down.
All right, I just went ahead and quick drew on my borders on these. I'm gonna, like I said earlier, gonna make this a little geometric stamp. So the first thing I need to do, get my leather wet. I'm just gonna give it a few sprays. I'm gonna let that sit for just a minute, and then we'll get to carving. So I was able to get them all stamped. This stamp, it's a Berry King. I think they call it Crazy Bones or Crazy Legs, one of those two. I can't remember exactly. But it's kind of like the old the Birkenstock sandal deal that's on the bottom there, that same design. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to get these two pieces glued on together. This front piece is it's decorative as well as holds on, your belt loop attachment. So I'm going to spread some glue out on that. Let that set up for just a minute, and then we'll stick it on. Give that glue some time to tack up, so see if we can't get her lined up just right. After I get that stitched on, hopefully I have enough here for my welt. And it looks like I oughta usually make my welt just about a 1/2 inch wide. I'm just going to mark the outside here. Perfect. And then I'm just going to cut that out, take my dividers, and get me a 1/2 inch line. And that's going to be the welt. That's going to keep the blade from cutting the stitching. After I get that welt cut out, I notch the bottom here so I can wedge it up in there so I get a tight fit. And now I'm going to glue it to the back side of the front of the scabbard. So I'll come back when I get that thing glued on there, but it's going to go on just like that. So I got the welt glued in there. Stick the knife in there. I always like to kind of give it a little test fit. And it's sure going to be a little bit snug on this handle. It's just got a little bit more curve in the handle than I'd anticipated. Probably if I didn't take the scabbard up so high, it would probably be just fine. But so I think what I'm going to do is just add another piece of welting, another layer to go down to about here and skive it down real nice at the end. And I think that'll give me the extra thickness to make it to be where I can get it in and out pretty easy. So I'm going to shut the video off real quick while I get that done. But I do think everything is fitting up pretty nice and it's going to work. But just have to make a little bit of an adjustment on it and I think we'll be good. So I went ahead and added just a little bit more thickness there. You can see how it skives down. It's definitely on the threshold of my sewing machine not wanting to stitch that, so it might be a little interesting, but I think we're good to go ahead and get it glued together. I'm just going to stick it all right up on itself. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. Glued up nice and straight. Just gonna go ahead and pinch that together, make sure everything sticks good. And if you have a knife, or I do all kinds of custom stuff, but if you have a knife you want a scabbard for, you can hop on the website, bbrosleather.com, shoot us an email. On some of these we can get away with building them just with a picture. Others we do need the knife, but you might want to stick around and see how this one finishes out before sending a knife though. But no, I think it's going to fit good. I'm going to glue, make a couple marks here. I'm going to get that belt loop glued down, and then we're good to go ahead and stitch it. Just going to glue under where I just marked. We'll let that set up for a second, and I'll see you over at the sewing machine. The machine ended up going through it pretty good. So now all I have to do is trim all that up, and it's time to fit it and see how we did. So I'm going to get to trimming right quick. I'll be here for a minute, so I'll meet you back whenever it's finished up. I got those edges all trued up. Next step, I'm going to take a little number 3 edger here and just go all the way around her. Oops. There we go. Now I'm just going to wet this edge and I'm going to burnish it up. Try to smooth it out, get it purdy like. You can see right now, if I get it focused, it's pretty rough just from that sandpaper. Take a piece of canvas. I'm going to go ahead and just slick on it for a little bit. And you can see how it's starting to get a little gloss to it, but I'm going to work on that and I'll come back in just a little bit and show you the finished product. All right, got them all smoothed up. And if you're curious on that edge slicking process, if you look back a couple videos, I did one on just that. But next thing, the fun part, the moment of truth, see if it fits. Spray a little water in there. Get a little water on the back side. I don't want to get water on the front side since I just stamped it, and if I do so, it's going to lose its definition. Anyway, I'm going to take that knife. Just going to put a little oil on the blade, just to keep her from rusting. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah. Dude, I like that. I'm just going to kind of use my fingers and mold this scabbard to the blade itself. Kind of see how it's taking shape there. Take this other elk antler and just kind of mold all those contours of that stag handle. That's going to help it lock into place. Yeah, I have no worries of this thing slipping out just because of the depth I got it on there. Like I said, it's got that really cool little knob you can grab a hold of it real easy with. But yeah, I like that a lot. I'm just going to wet that back loop a little bit. And let's see here. Got some old scrap leather here. Just kind of point those ends. I'm going to run it through there. So whenever it's finished up, I can slide my belt through there easily. Probably should have done that before I put the knife in. I'll just take it out. Yeah, it's quite snug. There we go. Now we're in. Slide it back in there, make sure the tip's all the way in. Kind of rework it since I struggle a little bit getting that loop through there. But when it dries, it'll go through there pretty easy just because of how I got her there. Let me get my angle a little bit. So it'll sit on the belt at that angle right there. But I'm going to let that thing dry overnight. Come back tomorrow, hit it with some oil, and finish her off.
So here we are the next morning. Everything's dried up. Time to hit it with a little bit of oil. I'm just using old-fashioned olive oil on it. Just a little sheepskin. It's going to darken it up. Kind of give it that little bit of life that it needs in it. Gotta get under that belt loop. Now I'm just gonna let now I'm just gonna let that oil soak in. Come back in a couple hours, take a look at it, see if it needs another coat, and then we'll see that finished up product.
Got her finished up. This is what we're dealing with. Turned out pretty awesome, I think.